Hello, Christ is born, glorify him. I'm Father Kevin Long of St. Elias Antiochian Orthodox Church in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Today is Friday, December 29th, 2023, and here are the readings for today. A reading from St. Paul's letter to the Hebrews, chapter 2, verses 11 through 18. Brethren, he who sanctifies, and those who are sanctified have all one origin. That is why he is not ashamed to call them brethren, saying, I will proclaim thy name to my brethren. In the midst of the congregation I will praise thee. And again, I will put my trust in him. And again, here am I, and the children God has given me. Since, therefore, the children share in flesh and blood, he himself likewise partook of the same nature, that through death he might destroy him who has power of death, that is, the devil, and deliver all those who through fear of death were subject to lifelong bondage. For surely it is not with angels that he is concerned, but with the descendants of Abraham. Therefore he had to be made like his brethren in every respect, so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in the service of God, to make expiation for the sins of the people. For because he himself has suffered and been tempted, he is able to help those who are tempted. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 2, verses 13 through 23. Let us be attentive. When the wise men departed, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, Rise, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt, and remain there till I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him. And he rose, and he took the child and his mother by night, and departed to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet, Out of Egypt have I called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, was in a furious rage, and he sent and killed all male children in Bethlehem and in all that region who were 2 years old or under, according to the time which he had ascertained from the wise men. Then was fulfilled what was spoken by the prophet Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, wailing and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be consoled because they were no more. But when Herod died, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Rise, take the child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel, for those who sought the child's life are dead. And he rose, and took the child and his mother, and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus reigned over Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there, and being warned in a dream, he withdrew to the district of Galilee, and he went and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that what was spoken by the prophets might be fulfilled, he shall be called a Nazarene. Glory to thee, our God, glory to thee. Today I want to venture into a very shady realm, and by that I mean what I want to do is get us to understand that there are narratives that exist within the scriptures that have theological truths, even though we cannot verify them historically. What do I mean by this? Well, there are several things. The first, we hear the story of the star coming to rest over the place where the young child was in Bethlehem, that the Magi perceive, but no one else does. We also have the murdering of the 14,000 infants in the area around Bethlehem when Christ is born, because Herod wants to prevent the Christ from aging into maturity and becoming a true threat to him and to his way of life. There are other historically difficult things. Was Christ born in an inn? Was Christ born in a cave? Was Christ born on December 25th? There are all sorts of questions that arise that we cannot use today's historical apparata to figure out exactly what it is that happened or didn't happen. We don't have those means. We have texts from people like Eusebius. We have the texts of the Gospels. We have the text of the Proto-Evangelion of St. James. But we don't have the ability to take our modern day historical, critical, analytical tools and apply them to what was going on back then. So what do? Well, the gospel accounts of Luke and Matthew don't even agree about certain aspects of Christ's birth narrative. Who did the angel really visit? Both of them? Or just one? And it just goes on from there. So what are we to do? We could say, well, by faith, we just accept as true what's there. And we can. That's not a problem. But I think it's better for us, perhaps, to dispel with the necessity of making it historically accurate. Let me say this in terms of the inn. So we've had this discussion here in church about how Christ was born. In the Gospel of St. Luke, it talks about Christ being born in a manger because there was no place in the inn. And we know that many of the Christmas carols that we love to sing this time of year talk about away in a manger, no crib for a king, and so forth. But in the Proto-Evangelion of St. James, we have a combination of him being born in a manger, but also in a cave. Nowhere else is it mentioned that he's in a cave, but if you look at all the iconography of this particular event, of Christ's birth, what do we have? Christ born in a cave. Well, why is he born in a cave? Well, he's born in a cave so that it can be seen that what he is doing is entering life the same way he's going to leave it. What happens after Christ is crucified and he's dead is he is taken to a cave, a tomb hewn out of rock and put there. And of course he rises from the dead and ascends into heaven. But the cave serves as the place where he rests while he is in Hades delivering all those people from death. Well, we also have the question of his birth. When was he born? We don't know. We have no idea. But what we can conjecture is based on what happens on March 25th. You see, March 25th is the day we celebrate the Annunciation. But more importantly, it was a day when we would celebrate Pascha. Now, we don't do that anymore. But if you look at the old texts that talk about what happens on every day during the week, the 25th of March is the day that is set aside to remember Pascha. Why don't we celebrate it there normally? Well, there are many reasons, and one of the most important reasons is March 25th doesn't always fall on a Sunday. The Sunday is the more important matter. The date, the specific date of his resurrection is unknown, but we know it was during some time of Passover because they were wanting to make sure that these people were not languishing on the cross during the Saturday, the Sabbath day of that particular event, of that Passover event. So it goes on and on and on from there. Okay, so am I saying that you shouldn't believe the Bible or that you shouldn't think that it is true? No. But what I am saying is judge it from more, well, frankly, biased eyes. Those things are there for a reason, and it's not there just because it's historically true. We have for too long, especially in this country, in America, decided that the Bible has to be judged by this critical apparatus. I hear Pentecostals and evangelicals and people like that saying constantly, it's either all true or none of it is. Well, you cannot look at certain things in the Old Testament and use that particular saying and agree that indeed it's either all true or none of it is. Classic example is at a certain point, you know, in Genesis, there are people who lived a very long time. Methuselah lived 969 years. Noah apparently lived 960 years. And then after them, almost immediately after them, it says, and from that point forward, God said 120 years is the limit to the man's life. Okay, well, almost immediately following that, there's another person that's born, and they live well beyond 120 years. They live like 400 years. So there are inconsistencies and incongruities in the Bible all over the place. And that's okay because we aren't expected to judge it on the basis of its historical implications. Theological truths have within them truths that are both physical and spiritual. And the fulfilling of the prophecies are really the most important aspects of Christ's needing to connect with the past. He is the Messiah, and so when there are talks of the Messiah in the Old Testament, you would hope that those match up with what Christ is all about. And that's where the truth really comes out. When was he born? We don't know, but we know that celebrating his birth is important because he was born and dwelt among us. Where was he born? In an inn or somewhere else? It really doesn't matter, does it? We don't know. He certainly didn't begin teaching when he was an infant. But what did happen was we know that he was born to come to this world to die. So why not use a cave as the place of his birth, whether or not it is where he was born? It doesn't have to be a verifiable truth in order for it to have a theological import. So all of these things that we spend so much time wondering and worrying about, in reality, are things better left to contemplation and prayer, and that the theological things may be seen as true instead of worrying about the historical ones. I understand that seeking after historical truth may help to make Christianity believable to certain people. But the reality of it is it always requires an aspect of faith, always requires for us to suspend our disbelief a little bit and mercifully and humbly approach Christ, recognizing him as the salvation of the world. So all of these things that we see, the children also, there's no historically verifiable point that there were 14,000 children slain in the regions around Bethlehem when Christ was born. Why do we do that? As a reminder of Egypt, that Egypt is the place, because Christ is our Passover lamb. Where does the Passover celebration within the Jewish community come from? It comes from the final plague of Moses' dealing with Pharaoh, telling him that he has to set his people free. And only does Pharaoh agree to do that after the angel of death passes over everybody. And if you paint the lintels of your door with the blood of a lamb, then the angel of death will pass over you and not kill anything inside. But if the doorposts were not properly treated, then the angel of death would enter and kill all firstborn males. Doesn't matter if it's a firstborn male child or dog or a cow, doesn't matter. The firstborn all die. So, did it really happen in the area around Bethlehem? We don't know. And to be honest with you, I don't think we should really care. Because the point comes back to this, that Herod was a really horrible person. We know this. He was also more interested in keeping his power than worshiping Christ. We know this. And we have this vision of Israel's moving from Egypt into the promised land. Just as I days ago said that what we have in Christ is the people of God, the Am Yahweh, the faithful people, the new Israel. We have them moving from slavery, in this case to sin, into freedom in life in Christ. So all of these things may or may not be able to be proven historically, Eusebius or whoever. But what we know is that they contain within them theological truths, that if we follow those things, we will find life in them and we'll be able to join God in his heavenly kingdom. I hope this was helpful. If it causes you to be troubled or anything like that, leave a comment. I'll be more than happy to try to address it. In the meantime, may God bless you and all that you love, and God willing, we'll see you soon. Christ is born. Glorify him.